did?
Like the last council meeting, didn't you see the little bugs by the door?
Oh, I didn't
Oh,
notice
I
that.
didn't notice that.
I did not notice that.
No, I didn't read it back. I didn't find it. He said, well, the agenda, I thought that was the board. Oh, that I didn't touch. Are we it? Oh my God. That is unbelievable. Well, Pat's sick, I mean, yeah. Let's go. Yeah, it is really sad. I hate it when it's just, you know, like we're a couple.
Well, if you're a real couple, you can put a chair between you.
No, that's true. Oh, wait a minute, we have a third person. Oh, wait a minute, it's Frank. Oh.
Frank.
Mark and Tom, how are you guys?
They're entertaining us.
Well, maybe I should watch like the Bible, the highways and byways, pull people in for the feast. Oh, well.
This one is different.
There we go.
Can we get a home screen on the computer that goes up on the screen to have a photo of the village of Tequesta and not somebody camping in Arizona?
We did have something like
Did
that.
we?
We did have something
I
going
just,
for a while.
for some reason, I remind.
Right now, it's y'all, they see y'all, not.
No, no, no,
they
no.
don't see that.
On these TVs.
Oh, and these are,
Yeah, I can make that
Take
for
that.
you now.
Thank you.
I'll wait until April though.
That's fine. It's okay. It's okay.
oh, is it just like the a generic?
Just generic, yeah.
Oh.
So when you're here,
Yeah, all we gotta do is change the laptop.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Note to self.
I'll remind you if I see it again.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'll go ahead and get started. It is our special council meeting on December 22nd, 2022. Lori, can we get roll call?
Mayor Young,
Here.
Vice Mayor Stone,
Here.
Councilmember Niembro,
Here.
Councilmember Brandon.
Here.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, oh, am I taking communication from the citizens first before we go through the agenda? It's on the agenda.
Up to y'all, change it if you want, or.
We don't have a
We'll alter after.
huge public. You could ask, might be better to
Wait until the agenda. Okay.
up here.
Okay, so no communications from citizens. Agenda item 1, consider options to fill council seat 5 vacancy. Keith?
So this has been a roller coaster ride over the last few days, and even at the beginning when Mr. Johnson resigned on the 15th, the factual scenario as we knew it at that time was I don't think I could have created a more complicated and difficult scenario, because what we were faced with was a current charter that required the council to hold a special election because there's still a year left in the unexpired term of the resigned seat. We were also faced with a supervisor of elections who at that time told us that the only available day for a special election, because of facility issues that the SOE's office is going through next year, was April 11th or April 5th, 4th. And as you all know, we also have a March referendum that includes one charter amendment proposal to remove the special election requirement completely. The current charter does not specify, while it says that the council is required to hold a special election under the current circumstances, it doesn't specify a time frame within which that special election has to occur. I published an initial memorandum that laid out what I thought were the correct options last week. I revised that memo today based on having given it further thought, and then later this evening, within the last hour and a half, the village clerk was advised by the supervisor of elections that in fact she can get this special election on the March ballot, which eliminates pretty much the entire quagmire. Takes all the issues off the table. We can now my understanding, and the clerk can probably give you better information, there may be a additional charge for a rush job on getting the paperwork done, but it would be significantly less expensive than holding a complete special election in April. In addition, by having this on the March ballot, it takes away any need to even have a discussion about, is it appropriate to call the special election now? Is it appropriate to wait and see what happens on the ballot and see if the charter amendments pass and deal with an appointment situation and what happens if they don't pass? So all that sort of evaporated. So where we sit right now is the village has the ability to have this special election on the March ballot. There would be a subheading that indicates this is the special election pursuant to the charter to fill a vacancy. But it will be on the same ballot as the charter amendments and the bond question. So that's my understanding of where we are. In my opinion, this is great news. It couldn't have unfolded much better, or at least ended much better than it has. But I'll look to the manager or the clerk to give you additional information, but and then for you to discuss on how you want to proceed.
The only commentary I have is, I think Wendy Link and her staff are sort of trying to be creative and make this work. A big part of it was the mail-in ballot part of it. Really spurred, I think, the conversation, and, a little bit of recap or a little bit of insight into it is the state passed new law that requires people to re-register for mail-in ballots. And so usually they hover around 60,000 people. Right now they're at 242. So they have they'll have additional manpower to help us get through this process. And so that was one of the driving forces. But I think, the relationship that Lori has with Wendy and, their willingness to help us in any way they could, I think, speaks volumes to that relationship. So, that's the only thing that I have to add.
Thank you. All right, any council comments?
Quick question, Keith. The qualifying period would be in January. Normally, let's just assume somebody ran unopposed. Normally, they would wait until March or April council meeting to be sworn in. But in this case, if somebody were to run unopposed, they qualify in January. Do we have the leeway to bring them onto the council in February, since we have a vacant seat as opposed to a seat that's filled with a term ending?
That's a great question. I did not look at that. Like I said, this is all just unfolding within the hour, but I will get you an answer on whether we have to wait until March or if we can. I suspect we still may have to wait until March because that's when the actual election is. But I will get the council an answer on that in very short order.
Yeah, it would just, the sooner we can get to, 5 people, I think.
No doubt about it.
That's in the best interest in terms of conducting business.
Agreed.
So, okay. That was my only question.
I'm good for now, knowing that new information.
The question I have is qualifying. It's always been my understanding that getting a bank check to qualify and having your name on that bank check is important. Is that something that's not a concern? Can you write in on that bank check? Okay. It doesn't have to be printed.
It does not
So it can
have to
be
be
a-
printed, they can write in on it, it just has to have the exact wording that is required by law.
Okay.
They can write it in.
Thank you.
Okay, No comments from me, except hats off to Lori. Amazing job. I know
Merry
you guys.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Miracle. Amazing work. Thank you. And it does, go to show the great relationships you have with our community. And a big thank you to the SOE for working with us as well. So with that, I'll open it for public comment. Marcia?
I had two scripts, and I'm glad that I'm reading this script instead of the other script. Okay, Marcia Nielsen, 94 Beechwood Trail, and I'm more than happy that this has happened. There's another issue, just a small one, and let me just walk you by a little history. February 28, 1997, Councilperson Michael Mader resigned his receipt to move out of the area. In April, 5 members names were submitted by the council for consideration, and Alex Cameron was seated. So at that point, the council decided that they would throw names in the hats themselves. Alex Cameron ran uncontested in 98. He subsequently resigned. You think you got problems. These people have bigger problems. He subsequently resigned his seat after 1 year. The March 18th and April 8th council minutes, I was at that meeting. There was practically a riot because there was no policies and procedures by that council. And so people came out of the woodwork. How are you doing this appointment and everything? Because at that point, the charter said that you could appoint. And it was horrible. It's the first time I ever saw a law enforcement officer in these chambers. People walked out. Now, at that same year, Ron McHale resigned his seat in the end of that 1999, and the council requested letters of intent to be submitted by the general public. There were 8 letters and then 1 from the floor, and then the council chose from those. So my point of this whole thing is, as far as I know, and being the historian and looking through all the documents, there's no policies and procedures on how to do a vacancy. Now, it seems like maybe the bullet has, maybe passed on this one, but this is something you're going to face one way or another sometime, and you need to be thinking about, supposing that that somehow or another, there's nobody that runs and you wind up appointing, or you try to appoint on a small time, which I don't think you can, but anyway. You need to have something that you are transparent with the people. This is how we're going to choose. However you decide to do that is fine. But you need to say, this is how we're going to choose, because this is so important. In this particular thing that I just went through with those people, there were almost the whole council was unelected at that point. And so that is the responsibility that you have. And your responsibility is to be transparent about your process to fill a vacancy.
Thank you.
Good point.
No comments.
Do you agree?
Pardon?
Do you agree with her?
That would be beneficial to have that in writing before you air our face to an appointment.
Yeah. Always helps to know the rules of the game, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and then do I need to get a motion on item 1?
Yes.
We do?
I would.
Not really, I think
Informational.
item 2 is the
Okay,
resolution
so
that
I'm
will
gonna move
memorialize
on.
it, so that would be
Yeah.
the action.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to item 2, resolution number 38-22.
Motion to approve.
Do we need to read
Do we need to read it
anything?
first?
Because it changed from what the published agenda.
So the title hasn't changed, it's the resolution will still provide for a special election to fill the existing vacancy in Council Seat 5 pursuant to the village charter. The resolution now provides the date for the special election as March 14th. When it was originally drafted, we were looking at the 2 dates in April, so there was going to be a choice to be made there. That now, the resolution just says it will be on March 14th. The resolution provides for a qualifying period, which, as written, would be qualifying would open on noon January 11th and close noon January 18th. By putting it in that period, the clerk has sufficient time to publish the required notices for the qualifying period. The only other thing that the resolution references Currently, village code, by village code, we opt out of early voting. And when this all started, one of the, as the manager explained, one of the big issues with trying to get the special election at all was dealing with the vote by mail ballots, and the supervisor of elections office initially told us that we would not be able to have vote by mail at all for this special election, and it would have to be in person. We were advised that they would be able to accommodate a couple of early voting in-person dates, but as I put in my memo, if you want to do that, we have to change our code, because right now we explicitly do not do early voting. So that would be the only other discussion point for the council, is if you want early voting, but since it appears that vote by mail is going to be available for this, that may not be an issue for you anymore, but that would be the only other topic for discussion. Otherwise, the resolution is, if you're not intending to direct an ordinance to change the early voting opt-out, the ordinance is, the resolution is good to go.
The resolution, that was already pulled from the resolution. We had already pulled
Okay.
that early voting out.
Okay.
Before we pulled that out.
Okay.
Then I guess there's no, as, that's what the current version of the resolution does. It sets the date for March 14th. It sets the qualifying for January 11th through January 18th. And,
I mean, if we were going to change something by ordinance, that would open up a whole nother can of worms for us in terms of
the-
publication time, et cetera.
so,
So, yeah. It
but
makes
that may
sense.
not be an issue any longer, so
Yeah.
we left that with that too.
Agree. Okay, any council comments? No. Public comment? Can I get a motion?
I'll remake my motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, you
That
now
is-
have set the record for the shortest meeting in history.
Ever. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yay, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We're done.
Happy holidays.
So,
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes.
Well, relax, hopefully.